Picture the protagonist of the comic book you are reading right now. They are trapped in two dimensions, bound by ink and paper. Now imagine that character, bloodied and fighting for their life, violently reaching through the page, grabbing your shirt and pulling you into the panel. That impossible collision of worlds is the foundation of W2 Worlds. On one side is Oh Yeonju, an everyday surgical resident living in our reality. On the other side is Kang Chul, a flawless, ultra-wealthy protagonist trapped inside a wildly popular action webtoon. The universe Kang Chul inhabits operates on one absolute, terrifying law. Every tragedy he endures, every enemy he fights, and every victory he achieves is entirely predetermined. An omnipotent author, who happens to be Yeonju's own father, sits at a drawing tablet in the real world, dictating every breath the characters take. When Yeonju and Kang Chul's paths cross, the collision forces an irreconcilable paradox. It is the sudden, violent intersection of flesh and blood free will and predetermined ink, causing the laws of physics in both dimensions to buckle. The inciting incident of this anomaly starts with a single drawing. The author decides it is time to end the series, scripting a brutal final death for Kang Chul on a rooftop. But as the ink dries, the creation develops an autonomous will to survive. Refusing to bleed out according to the script, Kang Chul detects a fluctuation in the fabric of his reality. He physically breaches the dimensional wall, blindly reaches into the void, and drags Yeonju from the real world straight onto that webtoon rooftop to perform emergency surgery. By surviving a scheduled assassination, Kang Chul creates a narrative vacuum in the webtoon's logic. The author suddenly looks at his screen to see new panels drawing themselves as the creation begins to dictate the plot, breaking the godlike control the creator once held. This story suggests that true agency begins the exact moment a creation refuses to accept their scheduled ending. This introduces a unique mechanical problem. The webtoon's narrative matrix is forced to adapt in real time to what we can call the romantic glitch. The comic's rigid code is completely unprepared for the emotional unpredictability of a real human being. Yeonju's genuine affection, her surprise kisses, and her impulsive actions act as a virus in the system. The webtoon was built to be a gritty revenge thriller, but as Kang Chul reacts to Yeonju with curiosity, the universe rapidly overwrites its own genre, deleting action sequences to build a romance. The physical rules of the comic world have to obey this new genre. A webtoon chapter only ends when a significant plot hook occurs. Now, instead of cliffhangers built on gunfights, the universe physically forces Yeonju to teleport back to the real world only after she successfully causes a sharp increase in Kang Chul's emotional state. Falling in love functions as a command prompt in this reality. It is a mechanical process where the heart's acceleration physically forces the page to rewrite itself. The author, terrified by his art coming alive, launches an aggressive course correction. He draws increasingly desperate scenarios, impossible no-win situations, brutal framed murders, and inescapable traps, all designed to kill Kang Chul and forcefully close the narrative loop forever. Kang Chul eventually uncovers the truth of his existence. He realizes his parents' murder, his years of grief, his entire personality, and the very city he stands in are nothing but fictional constructs drawn to entertain strangers. Against the weight of a fake world, Yeonju becomes his only anchor to sanity. She is warm, tangible, and completely unscripted. Her choice to keep returning to his dangerous dimension provides the only empirical proof that his life holds any actual value. Their relationship shifts the story from a standard romance into a deliberate refusal to comply with their creator's design. For this couple to survive the collapsing rules of their respective dimensions, the original boundaries between creator and creation have to shatter completely. They cannot rely on the author to grant them a happy ending. Kang Chul and Yeonju must bypass the system entirely. They physically seize the drawing tablet, the very tool used to script their suffering, and take over the drafting process themselves. They initiate a collaborative rewrite. By merging their perspectives from both sides of the screen, they start drawing a future that exists outside the rigid rules of both the webtoon matrix and the author's original intent. When the script dictates that you must die on a certain page, the only logical conclusion is to take the pen and draw a door out of the panel. By wrapping these high-concept mechanics in a star-crossed romance, W2 Worlds constructs an exploration of the philosophy of agency. In the webtoon, characters only appear when they are necessary for the plot, defined entirely by their function: the surgeon, the athlete, the victim. This mirrors how we often accept pre-written roles in our own lives, performing routines because they are expected by our circumstances, rather than because we chose them. Finding true connection requires stepping off that designated path. It demands that you stop acting as a passive character in a pre-drawn world and start taking active control of the narrative. Breaking out of the box that others have drawn for you is the most difficult narrative to write. If you enjoyed exploring the mechanics of this story, consider subscribing to The Explainer. We break down the craftsmanship of storytelling every week, helping you find the tools to write your own narrative.